I didn't catch her because I'm clever. I caught her because of a $30 dog camera I bought to prove our beagle, Scout, was the one chewing holes in the couch cushions. The camera sat on the middle shelf between a plant we kept forgetting to water and a stack of paperbacks we kept promising to finish. It pinged my phone when it heard something that sounded like trouble. Barks, thumps, voices. On a Saturday at 1:13 a.m. While I was 200 miles away for work, it sent me a clip that split my life into before and after. I tapped the notification expecting a video of Scout committing a misdemeanor against upholstery. Instead, I saw a pair of sneakers cross our living room like they lived there. A whisper followed. My wife's voice, small and intimate. "Don't worry, he's out till Monday." The camera only saves 20 seconds by default. You can hear the floor creak near the hallway, the one board that always complains. You can see a hand reach for the light and stop because whoever it is knows exactly which switch lights the wrong lamp. That kind of knowledge doesn't come from breaking in. It comes from belonging where you shouldn't. I watched the clip 3 times with my hotel room door chained, the air conditioner rattling like an old cough. I saved it twice. Then I emailed it to myself in case reality tried to erase it overnight. At 7:06 a.m., she texted me a picture of Scout asleep on her lap and wrote, "Someone missed you." I sent back a heart like a traitor because denial is the body's original painkiller. I drove home Sunday night instead of Monday morning. I didn't tell her I was coming. I wanted to see my house as it was, not as someone cleaned it to be. Her car was parked at a diagonal the way it always is when she backs in while singing to the radio. Kitchen lights were on. Through the window, I saw her stirring a pot in my favorite old college sweatshirt, humming off-key the way she does when she's relaxed. I stood at the door with my key hovering and took a breath that did nothing. Scout launched at my knees like I'd been gone a month. She turned, surprised, wooden spoon in hand, and smiled big enough to be a billboard. "You're home," she said, wrapping me with one arm and not letting go. If there's a worse feeling than having your heart crack while someone you love is warm against you, I don't know it yet. We ate pasta. We watched a show we'd abandoned because our lives got louder than the plot. We brushed our teeth in the small bathroom where we've learned to pivot around each other like a dance. I didn't sleep. At 2:03 a.m., I replayed the clip in the dark until Scout sighed at the noise. In the morning, she brewed coffee in the chipped blue mug that used to mean comfort, made 3 comments about the neighbor's awful lawn flamingos, and kissed me on the cheek instead of the mouth. When she left for a client check-in, I sat at the table with my laptop and wrote a list like a detective who's seen too many movies. White sneakers with a scuff near the left toe. Entry at 11:42 p.m. Whisper at 1:13 a.m. The step pattern of someone who doesn't bump into things. Who do we know with a navy bomber jacket patched on the cuff with duct tape? My mind put together the ugliest jigsaw puzzle. Our friend Ben with the rip on his sleeve, the neighbor who helped carry the bookcase, her trainer who hates shirts with sleeves, even her sister because suspicion doesn't care about family trees. I didn't want any answer to be true, so of course one would be. I drove to Ben's workshop. It smelled like sawdust and forever. He looked up from planing an oak slab, headphones around his neck, and grinned like he hadn't rehearsed any expression for this exact conversation. When I asked if he went to my house Saturday, he blinked and said he was at Dylan's poker night, then glanced at the very jacket hanging by the door like a criminal in a lineup. He didn't flinch when I said I had a video. He watched it twice and pointed at the doorframe, the way the figure's shoulders hit it. "That's not me," he said. Not insulted, not offended, just steady. I called Dylan and got a confirmation that was too detailed to be invented on the spot. The jacket, though, our jacket, was a problem the way a stone in your shoe is a problem on mile 2. Back home, I tried kindness first because that's the person I hope I am. "What movie did you watch Saturday?" I asked when she came in with grocery bags. She named one we'd seen 2 months ago and she'd fallen asleep during the opening credits, and I felt my chest do that quiet collapse buildings do before the dust cloud. I walked to our bedroom, opened the bottom dresser drawer, and found the navy bomber jacket wadded under her gym clothes like contraband. My heart didn't explode. It clicked into a new position like a joint that's been wrong for a long time. I carried the jacket to the living room and set it between us on the coffee table. She looked at it without touching it, then at me looking at it. When I asked whose it was, she said, "I don't know," which is the cousin of "It Didn't Happen," and the neighbor of "Please Don't Make Me Say It." I hit play on the clip and raised the volume. "Don't worry, he's out till Monday." She closed her eyes like the words themselves were bright. What I wanted then was rage, movie rage, smash-a-glass rage. What I got was clarity. She told me a story that's older than our marriage. Late-night messages that felt like oxygen. Someone who asked about her work and listened. Half-truths upgrading into lies because the train was already moving and jumping meant breaking bones. "I felt seen," she said. "You were always working. I was always waiting." I told her I'd been working for us, that the numbers in the bank app were my monsters, that I thought showing up tired with groceries and oil changes was love. She cried the kind of crying that empties. I didn't touch her because I was afraid I would, and then we'd both pretend we could be okay by morning. We did what you're supposed to do when you don't want to be the couple everyone points to as a warning. We made rules about phones. We scheduled therapy and showed up even when saying your feelings out loud made your mouth taste like pennies. We bought a shared calendar and colored in date nights like a second grader filling a chart for a prize. She left the man. She proved it. She handed me her passwords voluntarily, and then we agreed that privacy is not the opposite of honesty and moved them back to where adults keep them. For a while we were almost something beautiful. Two people rebuilding like careful carpenters, measuring twice, cutting once, sanding edges so they wouldn't snag. Here's what movies forget. Trust grows slower than mildew. It's boring. It's 1,000 small no-dramas that need to be true. It's the text you answer from the car because you said you would. It's the 11:17 p.m. Be home in 10 that actually means 10. It's leaving your phone face up again and not narrating why. It's also the part where the betrayed person invents ghosts and the betrayer swears the house isn't haunted and both are partially right. We were awkward at first, then better, then goodish, then brittle. I flinched at dumb things. She explained more than she needed to. The jacket sat bagged by the door because neither of us could figure out a neutral way to return it. I kept going to therapy even when I started resenting the room's lemon diffuser. The therapist said things that were both obvious and brand new. Two truths can coexist. Guilt is not a love language, and forgiveness isn't the same as reunification. Some weeks I believed her. Some weeks I nodded and left mad at the world for not being wooden and fixable with screws. Ben and I repaired too. It helps when the evidence points elsewhere. It helps more when a friend is patient with your suspicions. We built a shelf for the spare room because the spare room had become a staging area for a future we couldn't name. We didn't talk about the jacket while we leveled the frame, but we both kept glancing at it like it might speak. When we finished, we stood back and admired a rectangle holding invisible weight. He said, "Some things feel solid long before they are," and I wondered whether he was still talking about shelves. We tried for months, the good try, the sweaty try, the honest try. If there was a checkbox on the internet titled, "How to Rebuild After Betrayal," we clicked it. Our friends said they were proud. Her sister mailed us a gift card to a place with cloth napkins. My mother called and said that marriage is underrated hard and that staying is sometimes braver than leaving. I wanted those words to be a spell. Spells aren't real. Sundays came anyway. Bills came anyway. Tired came at 6:30 on Tuesdays and made everything sound like criticism. One night she sat on the edge of the bed with her hands flat on her thighs and said, "I'm still not here." It wasn't a threat or a test. It was the forecast we already felt. Cloudy with a 90% chance of heartbreak. We separated in kind ways that still hurt. We divided things by who liked them more. She took the actual living plant. I took the couch, the dog camera, and Scout's ridiculous winter sweater that he pretends to hate. We signed a lease for me across town. A small top-floor place with a fire escape that faced a brick wall painted with an ancient locksmith number. The first night there I slept on the floor because the bed frame shipping got delayed, and in the morning I woke up feeling like a person who had done something hard and not died of it. Grief is a long, boring miracle. It's rinsing 2 bowls and leaving them to dry because no one cares. It's finding forks in the wrong drawer and leaving them there for a week because there is no wrong drawer now. It's a grocery list that says bread, eggs, coffee, and stops because the person who used to add yogurt, the peach one, isn't here to finish it. Some nights I wrote the unsent letter version of my feelings. I forgive you, I don't forgive you. I miss who we were. I'm learning who I am. I thought proof would set me free. I was wrong. It only set me down. Other nights I ate cereal and watched people on YouTube renovate vans and thought about living by a beach I couldn't afford. Ben showed up when the sink coughed brown water. He brought a wrench and left with the leftover pizza I pretended I didn't want. We kept the friendship by not pretending to be sages. He bought a new jacket, navy again, no duct tape, and left the receipt in my junk drawer as a joke. Dylan invited me to poker night and I lost on purpose for 2 hands, then got competitive because stubbornness is a muscle that doesn't atrophy even when your heart does. Months into my new life, the dog camera came out of the box. I told myself I needed to keep an eye on Scout when I worked late. The truth was I wanted to reclaim the little white ping-pong ball that stole my sense of safety. I set it on the window ledge pointing at the floor where sun crawled from left to right every afternoon. The first clip it saved was a trapezoid of light gradually changing its mind. Motion detected. I watched it like a short film and saved it because proof doesn't have to hurt. It can also be evidence that nothing bad happened while you weren't looking. My ex and I texted sometimes like neighbors who share a fence. Holidays were simple. Hope you're well. You too. One night she sent a picture of Scout when she stopped by to drop off a box I'd forgotten from the storage unit. He was asleep on the rug, belly up, a king of nothing in particular. He looks happy, she wrote. He is, I replied. I hope you are too. I meant it. Meaning things again snuck up on me like a new skill. Time, relentless and helpful, kept doing its job. Work stabilized. I found a running route that didn't cross too many intersections, so I couldn't talk myself into stopping. I started reading again at night under a lamp that made the wall look like honey. I cooked badly and then less badly. The therapist who smelled like lemons said I laughed more and asked if I noticed. I said yes, but didn't realize how much until a cashier told me to enjoy my day, and I actually did. Then my mother got sick. Not the melodrama kind, but the slow, precise illness that turns calendars into maps. I drove back and forth to appointments and learned to ask good questions and got very familiar with the way hospital coffee tastes like someone else's mistake. My ex texted to check in with a gentleness that fit. She dropped off soup on my stairs and didn't ring the bell. I felt gratitude that didn't try to mortgage itself into an old feeling. Healing is expensive and we had paid enough. One afternoon, while waiting for test results to come back, I walked the long way home and past the strip mall from the first video. I had avoided that parking lot the way people avoid mirrors after a bad haircut. But avoidance keeps maps small. I pulled in and parked where the security camera could see me if it wanted. I got out and stood on the exact oil-stained square where my marriage once felt like it ended. Then I laughed because it didn't end there, not really. It kept going through therapists and IKEA returns and a notary public and too many bowls of cereal. What ended there was my career as a person who believes he can outrun a feeling by staying busy. I walked into the grocery store and bought the good coffee because I could. A year after the dog camera night, I ran into the man from the sneakers. Not intentionally. City smallness is a sport. He was outside a gym holding a protein shake like it was a microphone. I knew the shoes first, same scuff though older now, like consequences. He saw me, paused, then didn't do the coward's pivot. Hey, he said, a question inside the greeting. I nodded. My body did a whole committee meeting in 1 second. Fight? Flight? Bad joke? I heard myself say, I'm not here to stage a scene. He exhaled and relief made him younger. I was an idiot, he said. You don't need me to tell you that. But I held up my hand because apologies from strangers are too expensive for both of us. I'm good, I said. Be better. He nodded like he'd been practicing that line for months and I'd finally shown up to deliver it. When I walked away, I wasn't proud exactly. I was done. That's rarer and better. Eventually, someone new appeared in the kind of ordinary way that makes you suspicious until you realize ordinary is the point. Her name was Mara. We met because Scout pretended to be fascinated by her tote bag at the farmer's market. She laughed when he stuck his snout into it and pulled out my apple with the kind of delight people reserve for someone else's pet. We traded dog stories like business cards. She taught third graders and measured her days in the currency of stickers, small victories, and the exact tone you use when telling a child they can, in fact, try again. We got coffee not because the world tilted, but because it didn't. On our first real date, I told her I was an over-explainer, a reformed lurker of evidence, and a sometimes cereal for dinner person. She said, "I keep a spare set of sheets in the dryer, so they're always warm. And if there's a better confession to anchor your life to, I haven't heard it." I was honest early, not the vague honesty people sell themselves, but the kind that has nouns. I told her about the video, the jacket, the therapy, the long, boring miracle of choosing not to become a bitter version of myself. She didn't applaud or pity me. She said, softly, "Thank you for telling me before I had to find out from the way you flinch." That sentence unlocked a room I didn't know I'd boarded up. We took it slow, not as a strategy, just because we liked the scenery at that speed. When my mother's health demanded another round of appointments, she waited in 2 cold rooms with me and pretended the vending machine coffee tasted like possibility. Months later, I went back to the old apartment to pick up the last box I'd ignored because it contained miscellaneous cables and a mug I didn't want but couldn't toss. The dog camera peeked out from the top like it wanted one last word. I took it home, plugged it in, and pointed it at the kitchen where mornings now sounded like 2 people clinking spoons. The app pinged. Sound detected. I opened it and watched Scout sneeze, then looked beyond him to see me and Mara moving around each other. Non-dramatic, an ordinary duet. We looked tired in the way content people get when the day is honest. I saved the clip because the universe has a sense of humor and because I wanted evidence that joy can look quiet and still be real. My ex and I crossed paths at a friend's backyard thing. We hugged in that polite modern way where you decide in microseconds how long and how firm. She asked about my mother, I asked about her work, we both mentioned Scout like a shared child we were co-parenting with time. When she asked if I was happy, I didn't deliver a speech. I said, "I'm okay in a big way," and watched relief rearrange her face. "Me too," she said. And I believed her because believing people is a muscle I wanted to keep strong. If you're listening for the slogan, here's the closest I can give without lying. Love is not surveillance. Certainty is overrated. And the only thing proof guarantees is that you won't be gaslit by memory. The rest is choices. You choose to tell the truth early. You choose to step away when a boundary is getting thin. You choose to clean the kitchen even when no one's watching because future you is a person worth taking care of. You choose to laugh at the way the dog sneezes like he's offended by air. You choose new jackets when the old ones have too much story stitched into the sleeves. Sometimes, late, when the city hums like an appliance in the next room, I sit on the fire escape with Scout at my ankle and watch the light from a neighbor's TV flicker across brick. I think about the man I was the first night the dog camera pinged and the man writing this now. The distance between them isn't heroic. It's measured in bowls washed, miles run, appointments kept, apologies given, boundaries drawn, dumb jokes told at the right time. I don't romanticize the pain. I also don't pretend I didn't learn anything from it. Mostly I learned this. I want a life where the most interesting footage on my phone is a dog dreaming of chasing something he would give up on after 15 feet. I want a love that's less plot twist, more morning coffee. I want to keep a small list on my table that says, in messy pen, "Buy the good coffee if you can. Water the plant before it droops. Text back. Ask what they meant, not what you're afraid they meant. Keep the spare sheets in the dryer. Look for flowers growing from brick. Use cameras for the sunset, not the suspicion." And when the app pings now, I open it with a different heart. Motion detected. It's almost always nothing, Scout turning twice before settling. Sometimes it's me, blurry in the kitchen, laughing at something Mara said while she isn't even in frame. Once it caught the exact second golden light spilled over the counter like somebody poured it from a pitcher. I saved that clip like it was a certificate. Not because I'll need to prove to anyone that the day was good, but because proof in the right hands can be gratitude. Because every life deserves a highlight reel that doesn't require subtitles to explain what went wrong. Because this time, finally, the footage isn't the thing that changed everything. It's just the thing that shows I did.